Hello, I'm Mark Millay, and welcome to this episode of The Art of Aging, Living with the Legend. Today we are honored to welcome Marleen and Stuart Rankin, the daughter and son-in-law of Olympic legend Jesse Owens. Today, we will explore the man behind the medals, the legacy he built, and what his story can still teach us about perseverance, dignity, and purpose. That's right ahead on The Art of Aging. Welcome to the Art of Aging podcast, a program proudly produced here at Montgomery Place, where residents find a place to thrive at every stage of life. Located here in Chicago's Hyde Park, Montgomery Place is more than a place to live. It's a vibrant community overlooking Lake Michigan, where independence, learning, and connection are all part of daily life. Each episode, we share stories that capture what it means to age with purpose, grace, and curiosity. Today's episode, Living with the Legend, is brought to you by our friends at OMTS, Trinity Rehab, Whipley, and Unidyne, all valued partners here at Montgomery Place. I'm honored to welcome our guests. Marleen is the daughter of legendary Jesse Owens, whose triumph at the 1936 Berlin Olympics became a defining moment in history. Together, Marleen and her husband Stuart carry forward his remarkable story of resilience and inspiration. And we're thrilled to share that conversation with you today. Let's begin.
The Art of Aging, Living with a Legend is presented by OMTS, Trinity Rehab, Whipley, and Unidyne in partnership with Montgomery Place.
Well, welcome to today's episode of The Art of Aging. I am so excited for our audience today to meet my guests. Today we have with us Mr. and Mrs. Stuart Rankin. And I'm so thrilled to have both of you joining us today. So thank you so much for joining us. And our episode is entitled Living with the Legend. And we're going to get to that legend in just a moment. But let's talk about the two of you first. So how did you two guys meet?
You want to tell the story?
Yeah, we met at Ohio State. I came from Massachusetts and ended up in Ohio. My sister went there. Marleen and I were freshmen in 1957.
1957.
And we've been together ever since.
Marleen, did you grow up in Ohio then, or how did you get to Ohio
I was
State?
born in Ohio. I was born in Cleveland.
Okay.
And Ohio State is the family school.
Okay.
My father went there. My sister went there. I was expected to go there.
Okay.
So it was, you didn't shop for colleges in those days.
Yeah.
Well, you knew that you went to grade school, you went to high school, and you went to Ohio State.
Very good.
So that's how I got there.
And you had a special honor at Ohio State.
Yes, yeah, I did. In 1960, which was the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement, I was the first black homecoming queen at Ohio State. It was national news. So
I think the most interesting thing that you pointed out was that it was a universal vote. Every student on campus could vote, and there were ballot boxes in each building. And they didn't know who her father was. She was on her own until the press got a hold of it. And that was sort of after the fact. I mean, she was to be nominated. And like she said, it was civil rights time when there were a lot of negative things going on. And blacks only represented about 8% of the campus. So this was quite a statement by the kids at Ohio State.
So Ohio, Massachusetts, how did you get to Chicago?
the family, we moved a lot following my father's employment, and we ran in Cleveland, and then went to Columbus because he went back to Ohio State to finish his degree, which he didn't do. and we left Columbus and moved to Detroit.
But he did get an honorary doctorate.
He did get an honorary doctorate, that's right. It was during the war, and so he worked at the Ford Motor Company in industrial relations and HR. HR today was personnel then. And so we lived in Detroit for quite a while, and then another opportunity opened up for him and moved to Chicago. And then we moved here in 1949. So this has become home because we've been here for so long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Stuart, let's talk about your childhood a little bit. What is your earliest childhood memory?
Probably playing in the water of a little pool for kids, toddlers, and this was in Springfield. But we moved in with my grandmother in Amherst. That's where I grew up. And we moved to Cincinnati, and I went to high school there. And then my sister went to Ohio State. She was an A student, and I got through high school on her back.
Okay.
But long story short, the way I got to Chicago was we had planned to get married, and we were engaged by the time we were seniors. And I had to go in the Army for a while, and I didn't want to go back to Columbus or Cincinnati. And of course, she wanted to stay in Chicago, so that's where I ended up. So I've been here since I got out of the Army, and I taught school here for about 4 or 5 years before I got into the advertising business at Leo Burnett Company. And then I had a career in marketing until I was probably in my 70s.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So Marleen, you mentioned your father a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So your father, Jesse Owens.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what was it like as a child growing up with your dad, the legend that he is?
It was interesting. Our father was absent a lot because he took every opportunity to provide for his family. So there weren't an awful lot of opportunities for him when he came back from the Olympics. And so some of them took him away from home. So he did a lot of things, and often he was out of town. He spent some time with Abe Saperstein, who was the manager in the beginning of the Harlem Globetrotters. And he worked with the Harlem Globetrotters for many years, traveled with them as their PR upfront person. There were a number of things, but it took him away from home. So my mother was in charge, but she always kept him present. No matter where he was, we talked to him every day, and she made sure that his presence was always there. It wasn't until we moved to Chicago that it became much more of a permanent thing that we would see him more often. So growing up, we had no idea he was famous. None. Our family was like any other, middle-class family with the same expectations and all of that. It wasn't until we were early teens, preteens, that we learned that our father was somebody that everybody knew and knew something about. And so it's then that we realized that there was something special. But it's also very difficult because becoming your own person can be very difficult because you're measured against this impossible, person. And people tend to expect that they know who you are before they know you. And so it's sort of breaking down preconceived notions before people really get to know you and know who you really are.
Yeah.
So it can be very difficult.
So did you ever get to see him compete or run, or those days were...
No.
Way long.
I wasn't born until, after his Olympic triumphs. And then, his amateur status was taken away by Avery Brundage, who was angry because he decided he did not want to continue the European tour after the 36 Olympics. He was tired, he was losing weight rapidly, and he wanted to go home. And they said no. And he said yes, and he left. And so he was robbed of his amateur status, so he could not perform as an amateur athlete anymore.
And it was just as well
It
because
was.
the Olympics were canceled because of World War II.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he never, just imagine he would not have had the opportunity
But I
if
think,
he hadn't taken it in 36.
yeah, I think the interesting thing, though, was Eisenhower is the one who put him on the map as his personal representative to the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. And from there, he gained a lot of contacts and a reputation as a representative of the president. And so when he came back, he had a lot of speaking engagements, and that's where he really put his hat as a motivational speaker and just generally being Jesse Owens and speaking at a lot of insurance companies in particular. And he was very successful at that. And he had a small marketing firm that I worked with him on. And he did quite well. And I'd say from his mid to late 30s until he died at a very young age, 66 years old. Mm-hmm. So he was, he and I were very close. I don't want to interrupt your conversation with her, but he and I traveled a lot together, and he introduced me to golf. I was his caddy for a while until one day they wouldn't accept caddies, and the guy pro gave me a lesson. I was hooked. He wouldn't let me or my brother-in-law play with him because we weren't good enough. It took us about 15 to 20 years to get good enough. Then he would accept us as a player. And he was a lot of fun. He was a very happy person. Never a bad word about anybody. He would just say, well, I don't know much about that guy. Even though who was asking him a question knew something was there.
Sure.
But
he was kind of give you the shirt off his back.
So Marleen, as a young woman, how did his legacy shape your own outlook on life?
Being the best that you could be at whatever it is you decide to do. He didn't dictate to us what we had to do or any of that, but whatever you decided, be the best at that. And so I have tried to do that. I have followed my ambition to work with people because I found that was my strength and my passion. So when I decided to go to graduate school at the University of Chicago, my father was quite pleased, and paid for my graduate school. So he just encouraged us to do the best that we could at whatever we did.
Mm-hmm. So, Stuart, through marriage, you got to know Jesse not only as an icon, but also as family. So how did he influence you personally and professionally?
Pretty much the same way, to do the best you could and make good decisions, work with good people, leave bad people alone, identify people who are trying to take advantage of you in business. And he was a Victorian man. When we talked about getting married, I was here for Christmas, and her mother told me, "You're going to have to come and ask for her hand from her father." And I said, "Oh boy." So we met in the living room, and she and her mother left, and he said, "So you want to marry my daughter?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, if you think I have any money, I don't. And what I have, I'm going to spend." And I just busted out laughing. And I said, "No, that's not why I'm here." And he says, "I know that." And from then on, we just talked about, we didn't talk about the wedding or anything like that. We just had a nice conversation. And then from then on, we were not buddies, but he was my surrogate father.
Family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first time you met him? What was that like?
The first time was at Ohio State.
Okay.
Because he used to come there quite often to speak for different things in Columbus or at the university. And he would take us to dinner. And that was before we even thought about getting married. I was impressed with how friendly he was and how giving he was in terms of just, he helped me get through school.
Yeah.
He had a scholarship at Ohio State. He knew I had difficulty financially, and he saw to it that I got a scholarship. So it was, I guess he said, "Well, if at some point, if you're going to marry my daughter, I want you to get through school." So he encouraged me to not get married before we left school because we talked about doing it. And then, of course, I went into the Army, and after that, I came here. But, yeah, so I knew him quite well before we got married.
So I'm sure there are many things, but if you could only share one thing from your father's accomplishments or father-in-law's accomplishments that you would pass on to someone else, what would that one thing be? What kind of advice might he give a young athlete or, just a young business person? What just to think about, again, the time in which, he grew up and what he went through the Olympics, and then also to be a successful businessman and a wonderful, loving father. Mm-hmm. Of all those accomplishments and things that he's taught others, what do you think if there was just one snippet of advice that he could give or that you would share that he's passed on to you?
I would say to have a good marriage and be a good family person. When I say good family person, I mean the ability to bring in family beyond your immediate family, because that's what he did. He was the patriarch, but Mrs. Owens was really the woman behind the man, and she kept things together. But I would say that it was the two of them, both, who were just a prime example on what to be as a married couple.
So you must take after your mother then, keeping Stuart in line as being
That's right. They all say I'm like my mother, but I would agree with Stuart. He was family was very important to him. His family that he came from the South with, he never let them go. His successes were their successes. He shared that with his entire family. Even when he was dying, he thought about his brothers and sisters and left something for all of them. So I would say the importance of family, the importance of maintaining standards, having standards and maintaining them, and succeeding in the face of them. That's what I think he meant to me. Yeah.
So, of course, Jesse's legacy lives on today, and it continues through the Jesse Owens Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and who that serves today and how people could get involved?
It began in 1980, at the time of his death. And there were 5 or 6 programs, objectives. The primary was education, and to provide scholarships for kids who were average students, not the high achiever necessarily, because those are the ones who fell through the cracks. Over the years, since 1980, the foundation has transitioned. In 2005, the foundation endowed our scholarship program to The Ohio State University. It is, maintained there. Students can apply from all over the country, but of course they have to go to Ohio State. That is a little different than the initial program, because we had kids in 15 different states that we mentored and helped go through school for 4 years. We didn't leave them after 1 year. We stayed with them as long as they were good students in good standing. Today, the foundation exists to keep history from being rewritten. And by that I mean we're an information source on the life and legacy of Jesse Owens. So much can be written and so much can be incorrect. We are there to be sure that what is shared with the public is correct. So that's what the foundation does now. And then the Jesse Owens Museum and Park in Oakville, Alabama, which always needs support because it is a not-for-profit. There will be a track built there now that will be a part of the public school system in Alabama and maintained by the Board of Education, so that all track and field events will be held in the Jesse Owens Park.
Wow.
It provides opportunities for kids to learn something about history by going to the museum. There are films. It's really an amazing place.
Well, what an amazing story, and thank you for just sharing a little bit about his legacy and his influence, on your lives, and not only, the difference that he made, in your lives, but really for hundreds and thousands of people. So thank you for sharing that story. We're going to move to the next section of our interview, which is called the MP3. So the Montgomery Place 3 questions. We ask these 3 questions to all our guests who appear on the Art of Aging podcast, so there are no wrong answers.
Today's MP3 is brought to you by our friends at Trinity Rehab. Trinity Rehab has been a wonderful partner here at Montgomery Place, providing not just therapy services, but a true commitment. Their team of dedicated therapists take a personalized approach, tailoring each treatment plan to the unique needs of every individual. Their passion is helping people succeed in their recovery and regain independence. That culture of excellence starts at the top with their leadership led by COO Nick Hicks and extends throughout their entire team. At Montgomery Place, we are grateful to have Trinity Rehab alongside us in our place of wellness. For more information about Trinity Rehab and Quality Partners Consulting, go to montgomeryplace.org and click on our Community Partners page.
We'll put Stuart on the hot seat. We'll start with him first, okay?
Great.
So, Stuart, if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Prepare for old age.
Okay. In what way specifically, or do you have just a?
Monetarily, physically, mentally. Just be prepared for it because it comes on you when you're surprised.
Sure. Marleen, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Keep doing what you're doing. Take life as it comes, one day at a time, and manage each day as best you can without compromising your standards of who you are.
Very good. Very good. Question number 2. What lesson took you a lifetime to learn?
That's a tough one. Probably to identify people who I've had, contact with through my life, and being able to maintain relationships with the good people and eliminate the bad ones from my life.
How about you, Marleen? What lesson took you a lifetime to learn?
That I am who I am. I am not my father. I am not, and I no longer expect people to, I guess I've grown, and that who I am is enough.
Absolutely. And our last question. What brings you the most joy in your life today?
Maintaining my relationship with Marleen over all this time, and the fact that she's 86, I'm 89, and we've had a wonderful life together, and we have a wonderful son, 2 wonderful grandchildren, wonderful extended family on both sides. My family, and most of them are on the West Coast now, and her family is here and spread out all over the place, but maintaining family ties and the few good friends we have left, knowing them.
Yeah. Marleen, what brings you the most joy in your life today?
Waking up and feeling okay. It's very, good health is very fragile. And being able to have good health and to live each day to the fullest as the best that you can is really a privilege. And so that gives me great pleasure to wake up in the morning and say, this works and that works, or it doesn't, but it will. And to, spend my time with Stuart and enjoy what life we have left.
Well, thank you both for being on today. I really do appreciate your time, but more importantly, I appreciate who you are. And, I've noticed you, around the community here at Montgomery Place, and I see how you look out for one another. And I know it's a bigger job for you, Marleen, to keep Stuart in line. But I see how you care for each other and love one another. And it's really a great example of just, again, your compassion for one another and your love and just who you are. So I really appreciate that and notice about that, you as a couple, about that.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have a couple parting gifts for you for joining us today. We've got a wonderful Montgomery Place coffee mug and a very, very stylish Art of Aging jacket to keep you warm as you're out and about.
Thank you.
And
That's
there
great.
you go, Marleen.
The Art of Aging.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Today's MP3 gift is brought to you by Remedy Pharmacy and Life Care at Home.
Wow, what an inspiring conversation. My thanks to Marleen and Stuart Rankin for sharing their memories, insights, and reflections with us today. Their words remind us that Jesse Owens' story is not only about medals and records, but about character, perseverance, and the power of legacy. The Jesse Owens Foundation continues that legacy, helping young people pursue opportunities and equality through education and mentorship. As a special thanks to our sponsors, OMTS, Trinity Rehab, Whipley, and Unidyne, for making today's episode possible. This has been The Art of Aging, produced here at Montgomery Place, where residents thrive at every stage of life. Until next time, keep living fully, keep aging artfully, and keep carrying those stories that matter the most. I'm Mark Millay. Thanks for watching and for listening. We'll see you next time on The Art of Aging.
The Art of Aging podcast is brought to you by Montgomery Place and Life Care at Home, where community, wellness, and legacy come together. At Montgomery Place, you too can find your place to shine. To learn more or watch past episodes, visit montgomeryplace.org or find the Art of Aging podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and across your favorite podcast platforms.